Aogashima is a volcanic island to the south of Japan in northernmost Micronesia. It is the southernmost and most isolated inhabited island of the Izus, which are politically and administratively part of Japan, but geographically not part of the Japanese archipelago. The islands border the Northeast Philippine Sea and lie immediately north of the Bonin Islands, which are also governed by Japan. The island is approximately 358 kilometers south of Tokyo and 64 kilometers south of Aogashima. This small, sleepy city is completely opposite to the hustle and bustle of the urban life in the city. What is even more interesting is that historical records show that this particular island was uninhabited for hundreds of years, especially at the time when it last erupted in the 17th century. There is no definite time frame that records when and how people started living on this island. This is probably due to the fact that it is an uncharted island with no inhabitant at the time. It was only from the historical records from the Edo period that volcanic activity in the islands has been tracked by historians and scientists. In the olden days, the island was forbidden to women, and they say there was a time when it was called Aogashima, meaning roughly man's island. The island has the smallest population of any village in Japan and is full of beautiful scenery. Since the late 16th century, there are earthquakes and eruptions recorded. It has also been noted that there are no inhabitants in the island. Habitation in the island started between the 16th and 17th century. This is why by the late 17th century, a major volcanic eruption occurred. There are about 100 deaths in the island. This roughly represents a third of its total population at the time. This was the last recorded volcanic activity the volcano had in the recent past. According to local history, as told by the island's inhabitants, the people started experiencing ground shaking prior the massive eruption. Plumes of gas, ash, and smoke started getting belted up from the mouth of the volcano. The people started to evacuate, but had very little time and resources to do so, which is why almost half of its inhabitants lost their lives. A lot of people ask whether the calamity could have been avoided. The answer could be a no. The technology of the time was not yet as advanced as today. Ground shaking and smoke belching from the volcano could have been a common sight. Furthermore, transportation into and out of the islands was not that easy. Ships would be needed to transport hundreds of people out of the place. Rescue ships might not have been as common back then as it is now. What many people do not know about Aogashima is the fact that it is an active quaternary volcano. This means that it has been formed from 4 overlapping calderas, or volcano openings. The volcano may look small, but it is actually large beneath the sea. Since the island is a large volcanic crater, it is understandable why there are very steep cliffs made from volcanic materials and deposits. Otonbu is known to be the highest point of the island, which is at 423 meters. The total land area of the Aogashima Island is about 9 square km, with only around 170 inhabitants. This includes young children and senior citizens as well. All the inhabitants of the island know each other by face or by name. Interestingly, many of the inhabitants are relatives to some extent or degree. However, there are also migrants from different parts of Japan that chose to live the simplistic lifestyle of the island. Because of its size and population density, it is considered as the smallest village in the entire country. There was a time in its history when they had more inhabitants, but through time the population started to deplete. Because of its distance and location from the main island of Japan, Aogashima is considered to be one of the islands in Japan which is hardest to reach, along with Mikurajima and Toshima Island. There are very limited facilities on the island, since there is also a limitation in the number of inhabitants. There is 1 elementary school, 1 junior high school, and 1 high school. There are no universities in Aogashima, which means that students who wish to further their education must migrate out of the island for the university. All the mail goes to a single postal address for which the postman brings to the home of the receiver. Since most of the people living in Aogashima are relatives with the same surname, the postman knows each individual by their given name. There are a number of possible reasons why the population in Aogashima is not that high, and accessibility is one of them. It is quite difficult to get in and out of the island. It would be a hassle to charter a boat or a helicopter out of the island, since there would not be that many passengers. On top of that, it would be surely expensive. Another reason why people migrate out of the island is the fact that there is not much to do in the area. There are no restaurants, not that many stores, or anything on the island. This means that there would not be that many jobs to choose from, nor not that many people to serve. For an outsider, it would seem that most households on the island are self-sustaining. There is limited information regarding the age of the civilization on the island. There are no temples or shrines to base the age from. However, people who wish to migrate to Aogashima would always be welcome. It would be best to gather information from the village office regarding the acquisition of real estate in the island. Acquiring property anywhere in Japan is never a walk in the park, and the costs are usually more expensive than in other places in the world, especially since Aogashima is a part of Tokyo. There are no cafes or restaurants in Aogashima Island of Tokyo. However, the spas, ryokans, and minshukus provide home-cooked meals for their guests. There is also one bar or pub on the entire island which also offers food. A lot of people still wonder why Aogashima is a popular tourist attraction. There is no restaurants, no museums, no temples or shrines to visit. However, what they don't understand is that Aogashima offers a different kind of nightlife. Since there are not that many inhabitants of the island, there isn't much pollution as well. The isolation of the island is something that soul searchers and wanderers are looking for, and the place surely puts people into perspective that life can be simple. Those who live on the island that's home to a volcano still registered as active by the Japanese Meteorological Agency, the governmental agency responsible for monitoring the nation's 110 active volcanoes, know that there's always the chance that history could repeat itself. But Aogashima's inhabitants are willing to take that risk. One such resident is Masanobu Yoshida, a government worker who has lived on the island for the past 15 years. He says that he tries not to spend too much time worrying about the possibility of another eruption. After all, it's been more than 230 years since the last one. Fishing is a popular pastime for many residents, as the island is situated in the middle of the Philippine Sea. Though Yoshida does hold an office job, many of his neighbors are farmers and fishermen. Besides acres of expansive greenery, the island is home to a shochu distillery, a liquor that is similar to vodka and is the national spirit of Japan, a salt manufacturer, several general stores, a bed and breakfast, and an automobile repair factory. Despite the island's small size, Aogashima has several roadways, with the majority zigzagging throughout the island's center. Most of its residents travel by car rather than biking or walking, and for good reason. People hesitate to travel by bike due to the strong winds and rainy climate. Meteorological Agency, which began issuing alerts in 2007, tells that no volcanic warning has been issued for Aogashima in those 9 years. Every new day is another one in paradise for islanders, at least for now.